Well, welcome back to the wonderful land of video lessons. Today we are dividing by powers of 10. So that's going to be the title of in our notebook. Dividing by powers of 10. So you want to go ahead and put that in the front of your notebook. Dividing by powers of 10. Now the beautiful thing of me doing this as a video, so at any point you need to pause, feel free, rewind, feel free. I wouldn't fast forward because then you'd miss some notes. Ha ha ha. But you can feel free to pause when we get to a point where we're practicing, so you can pause and then you can see if you can do it, and then pause and see if you can get the right answers. So that's kind of cool. So back to what we're going to be doing, dividing by powers of 10. Now in the last chapter, we multiplied by 1/10, 100th, and 1,000th. Well, we were multiplying, right? Well, technically, we were dividing. When you multiply by 1/10th, you are dividing by 10. When you multiply by 100th, you're dividing by 100. And when you're multiplying by 1,000th, you're dividing by 1,000th. So, and you see that when you look at the answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to make kind of 3 columns here so you can see the pattern of what's happening, because we are explaining the patterns in the placement of the decimal when we are dividing by powers of 10. So we are going to use the number 560 for this example. So we're going to multiply by 1. Well, when you multiply a number by anything, the decimal is not going to move anywhere. The number is 560. In the last chapter, we would have done 560 multiplied by 1/10. Well, if you remember, that meant my decimal would move 1 place to the left. So my decimal's behind the 0. It would go 1 place to the left. And so my answer is 56 and 0/10, or 56. 560 times 100th means I move my decimal 2 times to the left. 1, 2. So my answer is 5 and 60/100ths. And then 560 times 1,000th means I move my decimal 1, 2, 3, or place my decimal 3 places to the left. So my number is 560 thousandths, right? So we did that in last chapter. It's like, yay, we did last chapter, woohoo! Okay, but I told you that multiplying by 1/10 was the same as dividing by 10, and that's true. So let's just take a look. Now I'm going to draw a little line here so I don't bleed over into the next column, so you can just kind of see. So I'm going to do 560 again, and I'm going to divide by 1. Now what happens when you divide a number by 1? It's the same as when you multiply it by 1. It's the same number. So 560 divided by 1 is 560. 560 divided by 10, which means I'm making 10 groups with 560, which means I have to put so much in each group, and I'm actually going to put 56 and 0/10ths in each group. And that makes sense because if I multiply to check my answer, 10 times 56 is 560. But if you notice, I moved my decimal 1 place to the left. I have 1 0, 1 place to the left. 560 divided by 100. So I'm putting them in 100 groups, which means I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the left, 2 zeros. So 5 and 60/100ths. 560 divided by 1,000. So I'm going to put it in 1,000 groups. So I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3. There's 3 10s there. So I'm going to be 560 thousandths in each group. So the same principle applies. So the last column I'm doing, so this was just multiplying by a fraction or a decimal. This was dividing by 10, 100,000. Then all in this one I'm going to do is I'm going to change these numbers to exponents. So I'm going to use exponents in the power of 10. So 560 divided by, now do you remember which 10 to the power equals 1? If you said 10 to the 0th power, you were correct. So if I divide by 10 to the 0th power, which means I don't move my decimal at all, I move it 0 times, my answer is 560. So I have 560 divided by 10 to the 1st, which means I move my decimal 1 time to the left. So decimal's right behind the 0. 1 time I'm going to put my decimal there. So my answer is 56 and 0 tenths. 560 divided by 10 to the power of 2, or 10 to the 2nd, which means I'm going to move my decimal, or place my decimal 2 places to the left. So it's going to go 1, 2. So my answer is 5 and 60 hundredths. 560 divided by 10 to the power of 3, which means I place my decimal 3 places to the left. So decimal's here. I'm going to go and place my decimal 3 places to the left. So 560 thousandths is my answer. So every time I divide by a power of 10, I move my decimal 1 place. So here was 2 powers of 10, I move my decimal 1, 2 places. 3 powers of 10, 1, 2, 3 places. Dividing by a power of 10, I move my decimal to the left. So dividing by powers of 10 places the decimal to the left. The number would go to the right, decimal would move to the left. Okay? So, what I'd like you to do is get your big book, and I'll put this in my notebook, big book. Page 202. Big book, page 202. So pause the video and get out big book, page 202. In big book, page 202, you have an example A, which is 32 6/10. And we're dividing that by 1, dividing that by 10, and dividing that by 100. If I divide it by 1, I don't place my decimal any other place than where it was at, so it would be 32 6/10. Dividing by 10, I would place my decimal 1 place, 1 0, 1 place to the left, so it would be 3 and 26 hundredths. Divide by 100, place my decimal 1, 2 places, so to the left, I would place my decimal there in front of the 3, so it would be 326 thousandths. And then we have B. So we're doing the number, or we're using the number 50 and 2/10, 50 and 2/10, 50 and 2/10. And we're dividing this by 10 to the power of 0, 10 to the 1st power, and 10 to the 2nd power. So 10 to the 0th power is the same as dividing by 1, so I move my decimal 0 times, or place my decimal 0 places. Dividing, go to the left 1 place, so dividing would move my decimal from here to here. I put my decimal between the 5 and the 0, it would be 5 and 2 hundredths. Dividing, moving it to the left 2 places, 1, 2. I would move my decimal 2 places in front of the 5, so it would be 502 thousandths. So if you look at the first problem, problem number 1, they have all of it finished for you except for the last piece, which is 456 divided by 10 to the power of 3. So dividing would be that I would be moving my decimal to the left 3 times. So I move my decimal, and remember the decimal is right behind the 6 because it's a whole number. 1, 2, 3. So it would be 456 thousandths would be my answer. Okay. So what I would like you to do is we're going to do the next 3. We're going to do problems 2, 3, and 4 with the video. And then I'm going to give you your assignment. So if you want to, you can pause the video and you can look at, once you finish, turn the video back on and find your answers. So that way we can, so you can see how you're doing. So problem number 2 is using the number 225. And we're dividing by powers of 10 using exponents. So I am moving my decimal to the left because I'm dividing. So to the power of 0, not moving my decimal at all. 10 to the first power, moving my decimal 1 time to the left, 22 and 5/10. Dividing, moving to the left, power of 2, 10 to the power of 2, so moving it twice. So I should have 2 loops, 2 and 25/100. 10 to the power of 3. I'm going to place my decimal 1, 2, 3 places. So it's 225 thousandths. Number 3, we're using the number 605. And we're dividing again by powers of 10 using exponents. So the first one, dividing, going to the left, but I'm going 0 times, so it's going to be placed in the same spot. 10 to the first power, to the left 1 time, so 60 and 5/10. 10 to the second, 1, 2, 6 and 5/100. 10 to the power of 3, move it 3, 2, 3. So 605 thousandths. Please show your work so I can see your thinking. Otherwise, I will make you write a paragraph. But please just show your work. 74 and 3/10 divided by 1. 74 and 3/10 divided by 10. 74 and 3/10 divided by 100. So again, this is not using powers of 10, but it's using 10, 1, 10, 100, which are powers of 10. So dividing by 1 would give me the same answer. So 74 and 3/10. Dividing by 10, I move it 1 time, 1, 0. So it'd be 7 and 43/100 divided by 100. So 740 thousandths would be the answer. Oops, can't really see it on the video. Sorry, I was in the margins. So on this piece here where you're using your big book, no, this doesn't have to be in your notebook. You have your notes from your notes. So then in using the big book, you just have your notes that you need. Okay, so I just had to put this here so I didn't waste a page from a book. So for your assignment, you're going to complete page 203, and you're going to do 5 through 10. So for those of you who don't understand the through, that means you're doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're going to do your small math book. And you're going to complete page 101. And please do all the problems including number 10 and 11. So page 101, and then you'll tear that out and turn it into me. Page 203, don't tear out the book or the page. I'll come around and check your work as you finish. But page 101, please tear that out and turn it into me. Okay, so for those of you who want 200 points for class craft, you are going to put the symbol of the division symbol, and then you are going to write the word keep it a secret. Okay, thank you very much.